some more.
Yo, what's good, people? Izzy Max here, back with the Breakdown crew again. Hello, Ryan. Hello, Matt.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, guys?
So, this is the last week of the regular season, as you see on the screen. Week 11 breakdown, and we are also going to dive into some niche playoff talk. Not really going to make our predictions, but we're going to kind of just talk about the matchups in general. And I will give the league prediction because I do have the pick'ems on the Discord, and I think like 10 people have already voted, which is pretty much everybody on the server, so I'll kind of dazzle that in a little bit. Anything before we get started, y'all?
Not particularly. This was certainly a week.
Yep, this is going to be quick. We only have 3 slides, but we will talk a lot in the slides. First one is the matchups from the week. First match, Matt, go ahead and talk about it.
So, I think this was, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was the one time that Toxic did not bring Excadrill throughout the regular season.
I think so. I think it came to every game.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, it was his first pick, if I recall correctly. But and I was a little bit scared of it. I prepped pretty hard for it, and then I hit team preview, and there's no Excadrill, and then our leads hit the field, and then it turns out he's not even Sandstream on the Tyranitar, I guess, because he figured he didn't need it for Excadrill. So that helped me out a lot, especially because I was running a really weird Togekiss. I was actually Assault Vest with Air Slash, Aura Sphere, Flamethrower, and Ancient Power.
Nice.
So
I've run that set before, actually, in singles. It's fun.
Yeah, no, it turned out really good. Game 1, I maxed Togekiss both games. Game 1, it didn't actually pick up any KOs. It got some good damage off, but Crocodile ended up picking up all 4 KOs game 1, which was fantastic. Most of my matches this season haven't really featured Crocodile prominently. It's pretty much just been the first and the last week, so that was cool to see. There was a little bit of luck in game 1. Toxic missed a pretty crucial Leaf Storm from the Rotom Mow onto my Crocodile. He also got a crit on a -1 Rock Slide. I put his Tyranitar to sleep. He only got a 1-turn sleep. He ended up Thunder Waving my Togekiss on the last turn of Dynamax and immediately got the full para. So it was, game 1 was a little, I'm not sure exactly how it would have went if some of that luck was different, but I think it balances out ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
Game 2, I led with Togekiss again. He led with Charizard, and I was able to just my Liepard just faked out his Hitmontop and was able to get a max Rockfall off on the Charizard. So that was pretty sweet.
Right.
The Rotom Mow really did well for him. It was hard for me to deal with. He was Aqua Berry, so the fire coverage on Togekiss was important, but it wasn't able to deal with it as easily as
I was about to say, yeah, with you being AV,
so.
it probably just got a tickle from that Max Lightning. Yeah,
that helped a lot.
Yeah.
He did end up maxing the Rotom game 2, which was a good decision, I think. It was a little strange that he pivoted away from the Tyranitar in game 2, but I kind of get it, especially after he saw the Max Knuckle come out from the Togekiss game 1.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I'm kind of wondering. Like, I know you're not bringing Excadrill, fine, but the Sand does way more for T-Tar than it actually does for Excadrill.
Yeah, I agree. Even without Excadrill, it's definitely important that you bring the Sand.
Because you're boosting that. Yeah, you're boosting that special defense. And if I remember right, because I've actually ran some calcs with Aura Sphere Togekiss, it still doesn't kill a T-Tar in Sand.
No.
Right. Yeah. Which is also one of the reasons that I had Weather on my Liepard.
Right.
Part of that was for Charizard. I was afraid of Sunny Day Meowstic next to Charizard. Turns out he didn't have Sunny Day, and the Meowstic was kind of just taunt bait for the Liepard.
Yep.
But yeah, overall went pretty well. Krookodile and Togekiss really win, and especially with the weird Assault Vest set. So that was a lot of fun to use. But yeah, the Rotom-Mow definitely gave me a lot of trouble. He did well with that.
Okay, yeah. Moving on to our next one. Ryan, if you want to talk about this one since you kind of watched it and seen what was going on.
Yeah, it was a good set. The big thing that really ended up winning Hub the set was actually a Choice Scarf Venusaur, which is crazy cool because it outsped Colossal and took care of it. That being kind of your big threat, and I think Hub knew that. And it was just a pretty clean set all around.
Little note that you didn't see: the Acelgor was Choice Specs Modest with Water Shuriken.
Oh, that's cool. So that's like a revenge killer.
Yeah.
Nice. So no, there was some good. There was a lot of good tech, a lot of good prep here on both ends. It was just it was one of the cleanest sets that the league has actually had. Honestly, I think. Clean win by Hub game 1, caught you with a surprise. You were able to roll it back game 2, and then Hub kind of came in game 3 swinging and managed to pull I think a pretty solid win.
Yeah, I just couldn't pivot back to the Colossal because the minute she pulled the Venusaur, I was just kind of done.
Yeah, it was a very good tech. You had a nice recovery game too, but I mean, after that recovery, Hub adapted correctly and just kind of rolled through.
Yeah.
It was a good set though. I really enjoyed that whole game. Don't have a whole lot to say. It was just really cleanly played.
Yeah, even though I took that loss,
Venusaur was the win.
Yeah, even though I took the loss, that was one of the funner games I've had this season.
Yeah.
Next up is Tay and Jizzy. Volcarona. That is literally the key to this game. His capture card broke mid-match, so I was able to quickly jump in a video call with him to watch it, just to kind of see what was going on. But he just led Hydreigon with the Volcarona. Jizzy led the Indeedee every turn, couldn't really do anything with it. And the Hydreigon set the sun, Choice Scarf Volcarona just clicked Heat Waves and just killed everything.
Yep.
There was really nothing Jizzy could do. And, you know, we usually say when Jizzy plays, like, yeah, you should have brought this. Some of your mons could have been different. I literally don't think he had a counter to that lead. Like,
no, I don't think so either. He just loses to Volk in general. Bugfire is really good against his team.
Yeah, and with it being scarfed, it outsped the Durant. And it was just, it was a clean win from Tay. And he kind of needed it because, well, I mean, I guess Matt ended up beating Toxic anyway, but Tay needed the win in order to really secure himself and not put his playoff race in the hands of someone else. So
right.
Next up, kind of.
I like the Volcarona.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I like the Volcarona next to the Hydreigon as well, pulling out a big bug type and a big dark type.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He was taking no damage from Expanding Force.
Right. Yeah, so it had a really good matchup against Jizzy's main offensive modes, and I like that Volcarona came out here because I feel like it's been kind of underutilized on his draft so far this season, so it's good to see it putting work.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that was one thing that he said to me. He's like, wow, I didn't know Volcarona could actually do this much damage. I was like, this is like the 5th highest special attack stat in the game. So
in the game, yeah. Volk is a beast.
And it's decently fast and with a lot of special bulk. So, like, it's a good mod.
Yeah, it's hard to use it's harder to use in doubles, I think, though, because it requires a lot more support to function correctly. Because it is so physically frail, and that rock weakness is brutal. But
yeah, and we'll actually talk about how I think he made some good changes. So the next couple matches were forfeits. These matches honestly didn't matter, and I think both Hunter and Nin knew that they didn't matter. So they ended up just taking the L, saving their time. It is kind of unfortunate because I thought these games would have been very interesting.
Agreed.
But I hate to say it, I think they ended how they would have anyway.
Yeah,
most likely. I think Hunter had a decent chance though.
Yeah. Hunter's matchup against Brock was interesting. They both had like very clear advantages over the other, so that could have been an interesting set, just depending on what they brought. But I do think that it's more likely that Brock wins that one, just because I think Rillaboom was really strong against Hunter in general.
Yeah. And then the last match here, it was kind of a joke. They're pretty much, both of them, it looked like they were both playing to lose. Dark King brought Metronome, Life Orb, Grimmsnarl. C-Rad brought Nasty Plot, Corviknight. It was very clear that they wanted to lose in order to play Matt in the first round of playoffs. And Morgan just threw harder, so...
what a meme, though. I can respect that.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, I think game one, Slurpuff still picked up... Well, I think it went to 3, and Slurpuff still picked up, like, 6 kills. So,
yeah,
it was definitely a weird throw match, but, Matt, anything you have to say? I know you didn't watch this one, but it's kind of a wash.
I respect the metronome.
For sure, the meme snarl, as he called it.
He could have just run metronome Grimmsnarl, though. So
he didn't know if it would work. I didn't either, because he asked me. I was like, I have no idea if metronome actually works with metronome. So he's like, all right, screw it. I'll just run Life Orb. Oh, it doesn't. Okay, well,
I'm about 90% sure it doesn't, because
Yeah,
I remember looking into that one week because I'm a disaster person. So.
But anyway, kind of moving into the meat and potatoes of the video today, we have our playoff transactions. Everybody actually took one, so you will see Hub actually making her first and only transaction. But working from the bottom, we have Tay changing out Seismitoad for Indeedee. In my eyes, this is actually huge, especially since he does end up playing Hub in the first round. I think Indeedee kind of clears up his guessing game a little bit. He doesn't have to guess incredibly hard, although I still think, based on what gender Indeedee you pick, kind of puts you in another guessing game, whether you do the Imprison Trick Room or you just stick with the Follow Me Hyper Offense. So
yeah,
it's a good pickup, but
yeah, I think the going for the male Indeedee with Imprison Trick Room is sort of just, I feel like it's sort of a way of caving to the guessing game when maybe you have a safer option against a lot of potential modes that Hub could have if you just go with the female Follow Me version.
Yeah.
Probably with a Focus Sash, I think that's the safest thing he could do, so that he doesn't have to hard prep for one mode and then potentially get it wrong and just lose the way that he did in his match against Hub in the regular season. So it definitely benefits him in this matchup a lot.
Yeah, but it's playoffs, so I say yeet for the sun, man.
Right. Also, what I didn't notice is Scarf Male Indeedee could still put in a lot of work.
Yeah, it can.
So, I think it definitely helped him in the matchup. So I'm excited to see how that one goes. Next up, Dark King changing out Fungus for Clefable. I think this is just a pure upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
Fungus can help with some sleep shenanigans, but I mean, as a redirector, obviously Clefable just knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, you're not threatened by who has the safety goggles, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I think his team was one of the more teams that were kind of locked in what it needed. He has very specific things that work well with each other. You can't drop those without like messing up the others. So I think Fungus was really the only drop, and Clefable was honestly the only pickup he really could make.
Yeah, I think Fungus he ended up taking in a transaction period early on. I think so. His team definitely would benefit from redirection, and at that point most of the redirectors had already been picked up, so he had to kind of reach for Fungus. And now that Clefable was freed up to be taken off of Nin's team, I think that's it's a fantastic upgrade for his draft just in general. He has one of the best redirectors in the game.
For sure. Quick note. Out of all with these transactions, the coaches could only pick from the 4 teams that didn't make it to playoffs, and each team got 2 Mons picked off of it. So that was kind of interesting. Just a little tidbit of fun fact there. Ryan, what do you think about this trade?
I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say about it.
Yeah.
So moving on, we have C-Rad changing out Hitmonlee for Clef Key. I'm gonna stay out of this one since this is my opponent.
Yeah, I think this is kind of an interesting trade. I'm not sure how well Klefki does against Maxwell as an opponent, just because the Serena kind of stopgaps Klefki from kind of doing its thing, unless it wants to do screens, which it might. Um, However, I do think that C-Red hasn't used a lot of Hitmonlee. It's a tricky mon to use, and even with that speed control that it can kind of offer him, it's just kind of tough to use. So I can see Klefki's a little easier to kind of slap into a comp and kind of use it, and I think that gives it some good like playoffs potential. But I'm not 100% on how well it's going to work out, because I don't know if it helps him out through the first match as much, depending on what Maxwell brings.
Right. I don't honestly. I don't think he brings Klefki in the first match. If I were him, I don't think I would, unless he has some something up his sleeve that I'm not aware of. But Klefki, it's pretty straightforward. Its move pool is fairly shallow. It's kind of as far as its prankster stuff goes, it's pretty much just weather screens and Thunderwave, maybe one or two other things. And I don't think that helps a whole lot in his first matchup. I think this may have been a pick against Hub, perhaps. Maybe having some kind of like Prankster Rain Dance from Klefki might be really helpful against her. I used it against her; it was great. And just general, Thunderwave shenanigans and maybe screens could help a little bit too. But yeah, I think we can talk about his matchup in the first round of playoffs when we get there. But this pick doesn't really seem relevant to that match.
No, not really. It could be though. I mean, if there's one thing about C-Rad, he's always surprising. So
big fact.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. Next up, we have John Boy trading in Caporaja for Excadrill. That now gives him a little bit of a Sandcore, which I thought was kind of interesting. And as much as he loves Caporaja, I don't see him using it really ever.
Yeah. And Excadrill is he needed. He needed a big offensive threat, I think. Because I think his team kind of lacks, it's weird to say, but his team kind of lacks in just like
pure
threatening
offense.
Wall breakers off the bat. Yeah. And he needed something to kind of break through stuff. And Excadrill is one of the best mons for that. So I think this is a good transaction.
Yeah, I think this gives him it gives him a clear offensive mode, whereas before his entire team was mostly just a lot of good mons that could be used in a variety of different combinations. But yeah, I think you're right. This is this really gives him the threat that he needs, and obviously having Gigalith already, Excadrill was a no-brainer, especially because I don't know if he ever brought Caporaja at all.
No.
It was underutilized to say the least. So I think this was definitely a good trade.
Yeah. So next up we have Brock trading in Escav for Lapras. I think Lapras on his team works really well because he does have the Comfey Gudra already. So Lapras just kind of adds another layer to that, because that's my Series 5 team that I was running, which was the Lapras Gudra Comfey, so I know what that can do. But on the other hand, I don't think you should have dropped Escav for it. But overall, I do think this is a good pickup for him.
And considering that you're coming off the heels of John Boy making the Excadrill trade and that's your opponent, Lapras is like an incredible counter pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I love Lapras on this team composition. But dropping a Escavalier for it is questionable. I know that I know we've talked about Gardevoir putting in a lot of work, whether it was a Life Orb set in Tailwind or whether it was the triple axle stuff for the weakness policy Mudsdale. But I think that's probably the mon he needed to drop. I think his Trick Room matchup suffers a little bit not having a Escavalier there. It's he does have Rillaboom to deal with John Boy's Gigalith in Trick Room, but I think it would have been a little bit safer to keep Escavalier on the squad.
Yeah,
for that type of matchup.
I agree with you, but also at the same time, there actually is still a couple hidden techs that I know that he has for Gardevoir that actually didn't get shown during the main season that might pop up in playoffs.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So
Fair
there
enough.
is some potential there, and I do agree with you though. It's hard because his team comp really likes having all the mons he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
know,
he's
he doesn't
another one
really-
kind of like Dark King, that every mon plays an intricate role, and you just got to figure out which one. Kind of.
Yeah, and if he thinks it's Escav, I trust that. Also, weirdly, Lapras, like, you kind of think, okay, you're adding a water type on. Like, I checked the type coverage because Lapras is part ice type. It actually really doesn't affect his type weaknesses much at all.
He gets a little weaker to electric because I know.
A little bit.
I mean, he
but
does have
it's
the
not super
Raichu.
significant.
Yeah, he does have the Raichu, but I know Gyarados is kind of one of his more potent offensive threats that he's been using this season.
Yeah, but you never bring Lapras and Gyarados to the same matchup, I think.
Well, also Drifblim now as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he picked up an electric weakness, but Lapras is good. Let's just say it. Lapras is really good, so.
Lapras is crazy good.
Yeah, honestly, considering that he has Mudsdale, Raichu, Goodra, Rillaboom, I'm not really worried about his electric matchup.
Yeah, I'm just saying he has to kind of play that a little bit differently, but
Yeah.
nothing too bad. I'm gonna stay out of this next one, but it is me. I am dropping Mamoswine for Sableye, so if you guys want to go ahead and take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a good trade. Sableye is really, really irritating. I think it'll be a little bit less powerful now that your opponent will be able to see all of your moves before the match, but it still has a lot of options for shutting a lot of stuff down. And I think considering that you weren't really using Mamoswine much, overall this is definitely a net positive as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, likewise. And I think that Sableye is a just solid mon, like, in general. In doubles, I hate it in singles. It makes me want to cry every day. But in doubles, it definitely has its usage, and I think that Maxwell's team really likes having a Quash user, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So having that's going to be beneficial.
Yeah, I brought Mamoswine once, so. Yeah.
Matt, you've traded out. So you basically took Crocodile and then went, what if it was better? And now you have T-Tar. So that's all you really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
You just said, what if Crocodile was better? And then you put T-Tar on your team and slapped it on there, which I think is good. T-Tar was one of the best mons in the metagame in which this season is built around. And your team already was the most basically on point VGC meta team, and now you're adding T-Tar to that core. I don't see any issue with that whatsoever. I love Crocodile to death, but it really wasn't helping you in any of the playoff matchups against who you were going to be up against. And I think T-Tar.
Right. Yeah. Like I was saying before, when we were talking earlier, the only matches where Crocodile really went in were against Toxic and Jizzy, and neither of them neither of them made playoffs. So I don't really feel like I need Crocodile that much. And Tyranitar does a lot of the same stuff, but as you said, it's just better. It's very similar typing, better base stats. Having a weather ability on something that bulky is really helpful. It can just shut down a lot of stuff, especially opposing weather. So yeah, it just has a lot more options, I think, than Crocodile. Generally better.
The only thing that
I like
Crocodile
how-
does better is Crocodile's faster, and
Yeah.
Intimidate versus the special defense boost is kind of null. So really, it just comes down to Crocodile is only faster, and that's really the only thing that it did differently. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and I think I can pick up the slack where since I don't have Intimidate anymore, there's other stuff I have that can help with.
Oh, for sure.
The job that was doing. So
yeah, and then lastly we have Hub making her one and only transaction for the entire season, dropping Bisharp for Durant, and knowing how offensive her team is, Durant is terrifying.
Yeah, I think this is pretty big. It gives her yet another big offensive mode. You know, she can either go Sun mode with Venusaur, or she can go offensive with Max Cinderace, or she can go Mimilax and Urshifu is just really nice to help with type coverage with a lot of her modes, honestly. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really feel like a mode in itself, but it's very good for her synergy. and now she just has another mode with potential Dynamax Durant, which I mean I've played with Durant for a lot of VGC 2020, and it's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, Ryan, anything for you before I move on, because this kind of surrogates into what I want to say.
Yeah, that's all. That pretty much everything's been covered, I think, pretty well.
Okay, when we move on to the next one, Durant actually helps her a lot in this guessing game kind of matchup because, Durant really doesn't care about rain. It actually benefits from the rain being up. So the next slide we have is playoff picture. This is where we're going to kind of dive into the matchups. We're not going to give our opinion, or we're going to give our opinions, but we're not going to say like, I think Hub wins 90% of the time. No, we're just going to kind of talk about the matchups, kind of the key points. And I think the two transactions from Hub and Tay both work in the matchup themselves. So leading off, of course, the first matchup is Hub being the 1 seed and Tay being the 8 seed. And this is one that Tay's really going to have to sit down and I think prep a lot over these next coming days to figure out what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Especially since a lot of the regular season matches that we saw from Tay, it seemed like he wasn't changing up his game plan a whole lot.
There until the end.
Now's the time when now's the time when he really needs to step up his rep, I think. And given the two trades that they both made, I think they're both good trades. I can see both Durant and Ndidi coming to this match.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as we said before, I think the Ndidi eliminates a lot of the guesswork from Tay's end, and I think that benefits him more than the Durant benefits Hub.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead, Ryan.
But Durant does have some advantages here, especially because it really neuters the rain mode, since it kind of relies on Ludicolo now that Seismitoad's out of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to have Ndidi, Durant does this thing called Eat Ndidi Alive. So there's a little bit of a catch-22 there, where Ndidi makes things easier in a lot of ways, but also, like, Durant can also still just kind of come in and do its thing.
Yeah, especially next to Togetic. The rain mode can be dangerous for Durant because its special defense is so pitiful. I would expect it to go down to a Max Geyser and Rain. But next to Togetic, I think it could do a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure. One thing before recording I said is this match doesn't really come down to Jessica guessing, or Hub, sorry, what mode she wants to bring. I think the matchup really relies on what mode Tay thinks she's going to bring. We kind of seen that when they played in the regular season, to where even me, Hub is my fiance and all, I said if Hub ended up bringing her Sun Core, Tay won that match because he prepped for weather.
Yeah.
And just so happens she brought the
definitely dictates.
Yeah. So I think the match more focuses on Tay's prep rather than what Hub is going to bring.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, her draft definitely dictates the match here, and I think Tay is sort of forced to react. And if he does so correctly, then he most likely has the upper hand. For sure.
Moving on to the other side of the bracket, we have Matt and Dark King. This is your only loss of the season, big guy. So
yeah,
first round.
Indeed, it is.
Yeehaw.
So, and this will be an interesting matchup. I think Dark King's transaction for Clef actually helps him out a lot here, potentially. But I could also see it not coming as well. Yeah, this is mostly just... this is kind of a scary matchup for Matt, since it's one of the only teams that really like hard counters his in a lot of ways. But he does have some advantages now. I think T-Tar actually helps a little bit, because Porygon doesn't really deal with T-Tar very well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that aspect to keep in mind. And there's some other things that could go... I could see this match really going either which way. I don't have any particularly strong opinions. I also don't have amazing advice for either player. I mean, build your teams, think it through, do your best. I mean, that's the honest truth.
I'm expecting neither team to bring what they brought last time.
Yeah, likewise.
Maybe some similarities, but I do not think that either person, Matt or Dark King, brings pretty much any real resemblance of what they did last time. Because what they did last time, more so on Dark King's side, I think relied on kind of the surprise factor.
Yeah.
Granted, I do think he has the tools to pull it through. I just think he's like Tay, gonna have to sit down and prep a lot through the next coming days.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair assessment. I will. I have kind of an idea of what I want to do. It's not really fleshed out yet, but I will have more to say on this one after the fact when we record next week.
Right. Okay, you guys want to take the next one? Me and C-Rad.
Yeah. That match, I also think this one's a little ambiguous. I still worry about C-Red's Colossal matchup from last time, because that kind of is how Maxwell won the first set, was really relying on Colossal, and I still don't quite see what C-Red's counterplay is to that, especially since Maxwell has picked up Serena, which kind of even stops Klefki from doing anything. But both of these trainers have had the most comp that's switched.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the comps on their teams have made like pretty drastic changes. So really it's kind of hard to say, because I don't think either team like settled until near the end of the season, and they played each other kind of in that early middle, but while they were both still fluctuating a little bit. So it's a little hard for me to say, and both trainers are very good at like surprising me. So
yeah, I think looking at both of their drafts and also reviewing the match that they had in the regular season, it looks to me like this is sort of a game of how well can C-Red deal with these two fire types in Colossal and Rotom Heat.
Yeah. Rotom Heat's very good here.
Yeah, they both are. I mean, the Colossal mode really went in last time. Rotom Heat just has an excellent matchup against so many of C-Red's mons, and including his new pickup Klefki. And I think he's sort of forced to either bring Rhyperior or Haxorus, or maybe even both, in order to deal with those. We saw last time the Mold Breaker Haxorus killing that Rotom Heat, which is always cool to see. I think Haxorus is probably the better choice, but you can make a case for either one. It was good to see him identifying that last time too when he brought the Haxorus. So yeah, I'm curious to see how he deals with that, and if he's not able to prep and play around both of those well enough, I think that may be his downfall potentially.
I might shoot myself in the foot by saying this, but both of those threats you said, Prankster Will-O-Wisp is the thing that I have now.
True.
That is true.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to consider. I do think that this one is, of all the matches, to me in my head, this is actually one of the most ambiguous. So I'm very interested to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. Yeah, the last one is going to be John Boy and Brock. You say mine is the most big. I think this one is. These are two teams.
This one's so up in the air.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm super hyped for it.
This one, yeah, this one seems to be the most up in the air, I think.
Yeah, because I think both of these coaches drafted so heavy into just counterplay that we're finally going to really see two counterplay teams try and counterplay each other. They did play in the regular season, but that's the regular season. Playoffs, every coach is fighting for their life. So I can see a lot of things coming out that potentially we didn't see or they didn't even think of while
and
prepping
these
last
two
week,
have another transaction heavy match similar to Hub and Tay, in which Lapras and Excadrill, I both see a lot of reasons for them to come. I don't know if they will, but they both make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and one thing I said before recording was Brock has to play Where's the Rindo Berry. He really does.
Oh yeah.
Because if he calls it wrong, and let's say, I don't know, the Excadrill has the Rindo, and he Grassy Glides into it and it lives, that could prove to be kind of detrimental for Brock.
Yeah.
So we might need to deal with that some other ways, but I think this is going to be kind of the marquee matchup of playoffs.
Yeah, I think so too. But it's going to be a very good game. They both have a lot to watch out for each other. But I also think both coaches really know what they have to watch out for from their opponent.
Hmm.
Um, and I wish them both a lot of like the best of luck. Like this is seriously going to be. This one's kind of nuts. And they both also have had really interesting turnaround seasons, I think, too.
Yeah.
These two, Brock was like initially playing sixth, and John Boy was placed kind of low by the league as a whole and was in like ninth or something. But ultimately, they're both sitting here in playoffs at like a solid fourth and fifth place, like very heavily competing and playing at about the same. So,
For sure.
Something
for sure.
Something I find interesting about this matchup is that Ryan, you said they both kind of know what to prepare for on the other side. I both agree and disagree with that. I
yes.
think there are clearly particular threats on both sides that we all expect to come to the match. But at the same time, both of them have drafts that where really everything, all the way down from top to bottom, demands some sort of attention, and it's not exactly clear. Aside from those few threats, it's not exactly clear what's going to fill out the rest of teams.
Oh yeah, no. Like if they both run like just like their bog, like a bog standard version of their teams, then like that's not what I'm expecting though. I mean, we're talking about the trainer who ran Magnet Licky Licky and the dude who triple axled into a Mudstale. Like this is not.
Yeah.
This is not going to be a simple matchup, I think, at all.
No.
So I think this is where they kind of reveal their last
sure.
Yeah. Last thing, I do have the pick'ems. Since I did update them early, we do have the results. For Hub versus Tay, we have a 6-2 favor of Hub. For Matt versus Dark King, we have a 5-3 favor of Matt. For me versus C-Rad, we have 8-0 in my favor. And for Brock and John Boy, we have a 4-4 split. So that's kind of what the league is thinking, which I thought was kind of interesting. One thing that me and Ryan can more attest to, since we know pretty much all of these guys at a personal level, this is the most competitive playoff season that probably any of these guys have been in.
Oh, yeah.
One through 8, anybody can win. There's not a clear... Like, of course, there are clear favorites. You know, Hub with their huge offense, Matt with his dominating season up until the end. You know, theoretically, anybody can lose.
This is very tight, and I actually opted not to vote in the pickups on purpose because I didn't want to like play a hand. Really, I want to just see.
Well, they just updated because Brock didn't vote. I am now at 8-1. It's like Brock is watching or something. But yeah, I think this is going to be one of the most interesting playoffs I've seen in a while anyway. So
yeah, so I'm excited for the coverage of that. Maxwell and I are probably going to be talking over games, was the plan mostly.
Yeah, so one good thing is out of all 4 of these brackets, everybody has a capture card. Hub uses mine. I, of course, have mine. Matt has his own if it works. And Johnny has his as well. So we'll be able to watch all these. What we'll probably do next week.
Yeah.
If yours works.
Yeah, I'm expecting to have to use a phone recording again, which is fine. That's actually worked out better than I expected these 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I plan on doing is kind of getting those recordings, speeding them up to where they're each about 10 minutes, since our breakdowns are usually 40 minutes anyway. And then the 3 of us kind of sit down and just discuss what happened, what could have changed, and like just overall kind of what we do just with video.
Yeah.
So any closing thoughts from you guys? Because I am pretty much done.
Break a leg, everybody. This is a crazy playoffs. This is going to be nuts. This season's been great, and I'm excited to just kind of see how it closes out, honestly. It's been very smooth overall.
For sure.
And surprising. I'm glad that this season was so surprising. There's so many upsets and people moving up and down the ladders and things like that, and you love to see that.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of boring whenever a season is already decided before it starts. So.
For sure.
Yeah. I'll just say good luck to everybody in the playoff bracket.
Yep, same to me. Good luck, and I guess we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.